Okay, so anyone who saw last week's episode knows that George scared me when he walked in the door. So my plan is today, serve some fresh revenge. I'm gonna wait just outside my flat, and when he turns up, I'm gonna scare him, and we'll cut to his reaction. Okay, I'm gonna hide in this bush until he comes. Revenge, my friend.
Yeah.
So no food today. Well, not yet.
No. So you scared me.
Yeah.
I was very disappointed. But you promised me food twice. Okay, redeemed. But that food is on its way.
Double food. You know about the first food. Just gonna have a falafel wrap.
Yep.
And then we're gonna do some dessert, which is a viral thing I found on TikTok. And I was literally on my phone like this, going,
Oh no, the chin.
that would be fun.
The chin look. Maybe I can't do that for my podcast.
Yeah.
Falafel wrap from
Basta Falafel and Grill. If you're
yeah.
ever in the Camden Stables Market,
Yes.
gotta check it out.
Okay.
Really good falafel.
You know,
Everyone says they have a good falafel place because it's just the falafel place that's near them. And you could very well say that, James, this is just the falafel place near you. But I think I am, more than an authority on falafel to speak very convincingly about Basta Falafel.
I've never ever said, "Oh, I know a
You
good
know about James.
falafel place." I've never said I have a falafel place. I've never heard you say, "Oh,
no one's gone, but hang on, are you an authority?
yeah." You know, you're lucky because normally to sit down with me for food before dinner when I haven't eaten,
I'm so lucky.
is
to
a
sit
danger.
down with you.
No, what I mean is this is usually the danger zone. It's like if it's pre-dinner and I'm hungry.
You're really George on an empty stomach. I wouldn't dare hang out with you without knowing where food is coming from. Like it's not that you can't not eat. You need to know it's coming.
Yeah, I am, and I'm one of those awful people that like if I'm really hungry in a restaurant, I'm not really listening. I'm looking for the wait. I'm looking at the waiters, thinking, "Is that our food? Is that our food?" You know,
I do that.
I'm a human being. I'm an animal. I'm dictated by my stomach.
More evidence
Sue
that
me.
you're just a horrifying Neanderthal who's impulsive.
When people look at me, they do think that guy's primal. That guy is a guy who's lost control.
This guy with a mustard corduroy shirt done all the way up to the top is he's gonna kill
This
me.
London urbanite,
That's why you were so worried when I scared you, because you didn't know what would come out from you. You
Yeah.
thought you know what the beast you would.
The last time that happened, I had to change my name.
I'm gonna be cool for 3 months.
But yeah, I am a London urbanite now because I've officially moved back to the
Congratulations.
city at long.
And God bless you
depressing
for the last 6 episodes that we've done. You've been commuting called all the way back home outside of London. So
Yes.
now you're in.
And now I'm in.
I was about to say where you were in London.
Don't tell them where I live, James.
At 34.
Now I'm back in, and I'm really enjoying living it.
Oh, that's true. If we say so, I'll just bleep it. I'd love to. I've never bleeped something.
Are you gonna have like the black bar appear above my mouth?
Yeah,
Well,
well,
in
and then
the
like
video?
at asterisk exclamation mark.
Are,
Like,
are you gonna pixelate my face?
Yeah.
This week on
I'm
Pulp
going to send
Kitchen.
it to Taiwan to do After Effects and just completely.
Is that what they
work
do?
on- sometimes there are like specific post studios that this is like for movies. You outsource. There are for so many digital shots, you would outsource it to many different production houses. You know when you watch a big special effects film and the credits are 30 minutes long.
Yeah.
That's because you need to credit every single person at every single company that ever worked on that thing. When every single shot of like the Hulk smashing a bus was outsourced.
So if you leant over someone's desk and said, "I think you might just want to change that bit," you get a credit. And if you've even breathed on a monitor that had an image of the Hulk on it, you get a credit.
You're on. If you like accidentally moved a file into the wrong folder and had to like have a meeting about it, you're on the credits.
File movie.
Yeah.
File mover.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
And then they got like 4 units of production because you can't shoot it with 1 unit. It's a whole thing.
Units, huh?
Units. I said this the other day when we were at the cinema. Isn't it weird that a unit production manager always gets the top billing? Apart from the actors that appear while the film's still rolling. You know, like the first time the credits go black and you go into the like long text credits, it's unit production manager, someone you've never heard of. Then directed by Taika Waititi.
No, that's not true in films.
I see it all
TV
the time in
shows.
films.
Well, I tell you what. I tell you what it is. It's because there's so many politics around the way you credit people, which I always find interesting. You know, you and I have had a conversation about how I'm obsessed with the ands and the withs in terms of who's credited on a poster. But in regard to this, I have seen it where if they've already had a type of credit sequence at the beginning of the film, you know, some films don't have a title sequence and some films do.
Yeah.
Then when it gets to the credits at the end, it will go straight
Jeff
to
Daniels.
But or rather, let's say it's a big Marvel film.
Yeah.
The end credits will be, they have
They'll
really
have
heavily
a
animated design,
sequence.
and that has the normal directed by, and then it has all the cards. And
Yes.
then when it cuts to the normal credits of white text on black background,
Are they
it's-
still there
Then
again?
then it's unit production manager.
I see. So it's like the stars, and let's get into the production stuff.
What does a unit production manager entail?
And this is why I asked, because I know what production managers do, but they still wouldn't, in my eyes, get the top billet. It would always be director, producer, cast. So, yeah, like production managers are, I don't want to take away from any production managers out there, but they essentially like organize shoots, book cabs, book hotel rooms.
I think they're quite
things.
integral.
Hugely integral. A bad production manager will kill any production.
But that's clearly what their hierarchy on the credit list is showing, that they everyone knows it's like, you got to put that guy up there
Or the
for all
production
those
manager
times.
just had access to their Excel spreadsheet and shifts their name up to the top every time because they have access to everything.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, they see everything. I had a conversation once with someone, and they were like trying to, not that I want to pit film roles against other film roles, but they were like the two most, in their opinions. This is just
In films.
just passing out. They said the two most important roles, and if you to the success of a film, is the assistant director
Yes.
and the editor. Because they're like the
Sure.
assistant director. I think when they were talking about assistant director, they meant like also like second unit director, who can go off and shoot the stuff that the first unit director was busy doing with the cast and things. So for those who don't know, that's what I mean. The second unit director shoots the sort of the B-roll, the supplementary footage, or the things that the director can't. If you've got a tight schedule to shoot on,
For example, if you were shooting Fast and the Furious,
Yep.
you would have the close-ups of Vin Diesel in the car, shot by first unit, but then like the aerial shots of the cars going through San Francisco, second unit.
Yeah.
It's just as important. It needs to be done, but for the actual key creative thing, that's first.
And I guess all those, that's really important. And then the editor is important because really, when you think about it, an editor makes the film. There's that phrase where like a film comes alive in the edit room.
Yeah.
Otherwise, a film is just an 8-hour collection of raw footage. It's the editor who puts that to music. It just puts it, makes it sing and hum.
Directors that really carefully choose their editor as well for the specific requirements of the job is huge. And I think we talked about this a few episodes ago, but Star Wars famously was saved in the edit. Both times, prequels and original trilogy.
I don't think they saved the prequels.
No. So apparently that is the saved version of the prequels.
Oh god.
So what we got, there's a really famous and brilliant clip of when George Lucas screens an early cut of The Phantom Menace to some people. Sorry, there are fireworks going on. He screens an early cut of The Phantom Menace to some people, and they're all just there like, oh yeah, I mean we can cut it down a bit. And the reaction is so
I didn't
bad.
realise that Cousin Greg from Succession worked on the prequels.
Well, I just think I should lawyer up, because like,
George, I like Star Wars, but again,
he should be in every crisis meeting. I hope there's a Greg in the cabinet. Just, so Brexit is we're working on it, but we don't know how to exactly work on it.
But back to editors, you're right. Like directors have their own favorites. Like Martin Scorsese has worked with Thelma Schumacher for 40 years, and
It's a relationship you don't.
Who's Chris Nolan's editor?
I can't remember. He switched up with someone for Tenet because of the specific requirements that I think I have. Was it either the same? I think he switched to Tenet, or was it the same for Dunkirk and Tenet because they both splice different parts of time, which I can't even imagine.
No,
trying to do that edit. The editing I do, like very sort of X Factor VT stuff. That was like the pinnacle of the kind of stuff I do.
Yeah.
That's like what I would call it. I can't even imagine like trying to draw that out on a piece of paper and find the shots. Mental.
Yeah, no. So, but the point being that they have these
storyboard
close.
as well.
Different directors storyboard in different ways, don't they? Some directors storyboard it. I think the Coen brothers storyboard like everything, and then some people are just like, no, we'll just storyboard this particular scene because it's very,
I bet like Nolan's storyboards look like a double helix structure. You can't write them down in a row. This wouldn't work.
He invites you over to look at his storyboards, and it's on the floor, it's on the ceiling, it's on the walls. It's just like, I've just covered everything.
I've heard that the more you get into very expensive film territory, the less it's a case of we're just going to turn up and see what happens and make it up as we go along. The more it's like, no, today we are getting these 3 shots or more, or we're doing these 2 of this scene. We're going to get these 4 shots. And that's it, because with that many people on set and that many personalities, you are burning money.
But that's it. At that height, I mean, at the end of the day, it's an industrial machine. So if you're a producer, you want to give money to a film. You're like, I want to make sure that when I make this film, that every second is accountable. It's an assembly line. It's the Ford production line.
I've heard David Fincher famously likes to do loads of takes.
like hundreds.
He says, well, we're in the room, we've made the set, everyone's here, let's go for it. I think Ben Affleck was talking about doing Gone Girl, and he was like, I was a bit worried at first because it was like, it was take 77. It's like, have we not got the shot?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, we're here. What if the best one is take 56? So it's different philosophy.
Yeah, but then I know someone like Clint Eastwood. I don't know someone like Clint Eastwood. Just what I meant to say is I've heard a different opinion about someone like Clint Eastwood who like gets one.
We're done.
Yeah, we're done. That's it.
Yeah.
Gets one. Might not even get an insurance tag.
You see Matt David talk about that?
That's what I mean. Yeah,
He's like, you want to waste everybody's time?
yeah. Okay, that's how we're doing it. Okay. But talking about just talking about David Fincher though, like it reminds me. I've told you about this show before, Mindhunter last year. A really fantastic show on Netflix that started in 2017 about the original FBI team that profiled serial killers. Basically, they were the people that came up with the term serial killer. That term we're so familiar with. That in this series, that term does not exist. That knowledge of how people operate and that like level of psychology. It's a very interesting show, very dark, but directed by David Fincher. A lot of them.
The whole way through. I don't know.
Most of it is, and I think he show runs it, and he's incredibly involved in the production.
Kind of like how he did House of Cards.
Yeah, kind of. Although that wasn't showrun by David Fincher, that was showrun by Beau Willimon actually. But I digress. Sure. But the reason I'm bringing up Mindhunter is that was a really strange situation where they had 2 seasons to that show, and it was really great. And then I finished it last year. I was like, when's season 3 coming? Because the story continues. And David Fincher was like, I think we're just not going to do it. And
is it halfway through the story?
Yeah, the story. The story's still to be done, and he said it's just really hard work. Basically, to paraphrase him, he said it's just.
Excuse me.
Yeah, and he's like, it's just really difficult to do it, and he was like, maybe in 5 years, but no plans at the moment. And he went off and made Mank, and I was like, hang on a minute. I've heard of great shows being cancelled. I've heard of and great shows falling apart, but this is like you've got our attention. You went to the trouble of making 2 seasons there, and then you've gone. I
think it's quite humbling for everyone just to remember, like, you're not entitled to the next season of anything.
Yeah.
If like you take a show in the middle of its hype, like Succession, if everyone was just like, yeah, we're just gonna like, it's a lot of work and we just want to move on to other projects, I'd lose my mind. But in what way can I be like, make the show? We just finish things because it would be nice if it finished.
But there is a point to it. It's like a level of trust. It's like you're like, let's take it from the truck is with Netflix, right? Your issue is with Netflix because you're thinking you're going to keep promoting things to me. How can I trust you anymore?
Yeah, it's the trust you break. It's like starting to make a whole lasagna. You make the ragu and the bechamel, and you lay it, and you just go, nah, should we leave it? It's like, what do you mean? What do you mean leave it? We got everything for a lasagna.
But also, like, Mindhunter is not an easy.
How you explain a concept to like an Italian American? What are you talking about? We got the lasagna.
But Mindhunter is a as much as I loved it, it's also quite a heavy, intense, dark watch, right? Like, so it's not like I was like, oh, well, that was at least a bit of fun. And I was like, no, I saw things and had to experience things through that.
You want a bit of closure.
Anyway, watch it. But what a random scenario to be in.
I was having, since we saw June, I was having a couple of conversations, very passing conversations with people who'd also seen it. And one thing I thought about was how I never really, looked into the fact that the main character played by Timothée Chalamet is called Paul. Which I think is just such a normal name. Yeah. And like, you've got Atreides, Sarkinen, or Harkonnen, which all sound like Greek epic. Yeah. Paul. I put that in the character in like the same category as names like Gavin and Craig.
Ian.
Yeah.
Keith.
You got these amazing landscapes. Paul, come over.
No disrespect to any Pauls, but it does seem a little bit every day for
the other names out there are quite big. What were some of the other characters' names? Like,
the most distracting one in Dune was a guy called Duncan Idaho, and I was like, that's not a real name.
He's played by
Jason Momoa's character. Momoa. I was like, that's a cowboy's name. Yeah. That's like if you were to do like a budget knockoff of Johnny Utah, which is the guy's name, Keanu's name in Point Break. It's like, he's not Johnny Utah, he's Duncan Idaho. Right?
It's like he went on a name generator online.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't think of any more goddamn names.
Yeah.
I'm not Tolkien. Just give me some of the Duncan Idaho. Yeah, that works.
And also Idaho is so distracting because you're like, I'm in space, I'm in like 1,000 years, 10,000 years in the future, and someone says Idaho, I'm like, the state in America.
Yeah. Is America still a thing in the 10,191?
I don't know. I get confused when science fiction things refer to like in Star Wars. Do they ever refer to themselves as humans? I think they might have done once. They might have said, "Oh, we're humans." And I'm like, no one's ever said the word human before.
It's like in a zombie film when zombies never existed, or in a comic book film when comic books don't exist.
Right.
Yeah. It's like, you know what I wish Marvel would do more of?
Well done for outing yourself as just the prime nerd.
Yeah.
It's like in a zombie film or a comic book.
They never exist. No one's ever been like, oh my god, we're actually having a zombie apocalypse. But I wish in Marvel someone would just be like, is no one else freaking out that there are superheroes and we could be invaded by aliens at any moment?
You know
You cut to Avengers 7 and everyone's still walking around New York like, oh, I'm just getting my coffee.
Yeah, I know. I mean, if you think about the level of destruction in the first Avengers, where like buildings are like destroyed,
and don't give me the Sokovia Wars bullshit. Like there would be real unrest, and
like,
panic.
The whole of New York would be like a ghost town. Like it's just deserted, full of.
I can't do this anymore. I don't know who's gonna come in.
Yeah, loads of traumatic people will probably start weird conspiracy theories. Probably get quite ugly.
You get cults.
You know, that's the. Did you ever see? We are jumping around.
We're
like
just
fish
jumping.
tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, strap in.
This is what happens when we're hungry.
Yeah.
Did you ever
This
see?
is what happens when we haven't seen a film this week.
Talk, just keep talking. Did you ever see the TV series they did recently of Watchmen?
No, but I remember you saying it was really worth seeing.
Yeah, that was so interesting. So Watchmen.
It's one of those things that I look at and I'm like, I don't have it's got nothing to hook me in.
Right, okay.
I believe you.
But so Watchmen, that was a graphic novel that was written in I think the late 80s, and it was all sort of about grown up, and it was about superheroes, but it was grounded very much in the context of the Cold War, and it was very much its own beast. Didn't really relate to DC or Marvel. And anyway, they made a film about it 10 years ago with Zack Snyder, which was pretty ropey. And then they completely reimagined it. And it was a really interesting study in how you reimagine an existing text in a new way that both keeps the original story and moves on from it. And the whole point in that is there's been this massive... So in the original Watchmen graphic novel, there is this huge event that happens in New York, a bit like the Avengers thing. But they actually deal with the consequences of that in this show. So it's like 30 years later, there's like survivors groups still meeting up, and there's people still haunted by this thing that happened. And it's like it's taking this really quite silly like science fiction thing that happens and be like, no, we're going to give it like the full thing it deserves. Like people are having like PTSD and support groups. I
want to see the brink of humanity. But you say that. We say that people wouldn't react, but we get some really weird news in our own lives. Like we've seen like the aliens coming, you know, like that unreleased Pentagon video with the thing, like the aliens are very much here, I believe. Like get your silver hat on.
Really?
But we're all just kind of getting a coffee and going to work in the morning anyway. So
because really, unless as anyone who's like worked in a job with any sort of basic task will tell you, nothing happens until there's a crunch. No. So you can have the most important things on your plate, but until there's a gun to your face, you're not going to do anything. So you can say there's aliens here, but unless there's like one in front of me
on my desk by 5,
otherwise I'm going to carry on and get my flat white.
That boss man is often vilified in culture and film, but he is doing God's work. He's getting stuff done. The guy who puts the papers on the thing, Johnson.
That always reminds me
the boss in the Matrix. That's that guy.
Is that? I hope you enjoyed that message. Is there a boss in the Matrix?
You know, like the very beginning when he's like, Mr. Anderson, you clearly have a problem with authority.
Oh, yeah.
You're late to your work, and he's just the man. He is the capitalist man.
Like which is expertly skewered in Office Space. You seen Office Space?
No.
Oh, Office Space is like, you know what? Office Space and The Matrix have a lot in common because they both came out in the same era. I think they both came out in 1999, and they're both critiques. This is the first part of The Matrix is critiques of that kind of like very drab office environment in your cubicles, like soulless, end of century kind of. And I think at the end of the last millennium, around like the 90s, you had like this kind of like bewilderment in a lot of people because they were like, we're facing a new future now, a new millennium. What does that mean? And so was
there a big crash in the 90s?
There was, in the early 90s.
Byproduct of that, like that not being realized.
Yeah, so there's a lot of soul searching, and that makes its way into films like The Matrix and in Office Space in very different ways. But like, so in Office Space, it's that this guy works in a very grey, bland business park, but he gets hypnotized and to like enjoy his job. But the hypnotherapist has a heart attack and dies before he's able to like remove the hypnosis.
Oh my God.
So the guy like goes to work and he has no qualms about working. He like, smashes down the cubicles and it's quite funny. But in that there's this it's actually a meme. The guy with the glasses and he's got suspenders and he comes over with his coffee mug and leans on the cubicle thing and says, yeah, we're gonna need that by Friday. That'll be great. If you could get those expense reports done for me by then, that'll be just great.
Famous stock character.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just saying that really, just expertly skewed in that film. I'm hungry.
It's coming. I think we've been assigned a rider.
My stomach hasn't rumbled, but it's like it's like knocking on the door.
I'm gonna hear it. I'm gonna hear when I'm listening later. It'll just be like a water cooler going. I got notification. Food has been delivered. No food, no bell. I'm starving.
James, the inside of my stomach has started to eat itself.
This is the last time we try and innovate the formula for the show.
No more innovation from here on in.
Oh my God, I'm so hungry.
I can't, and we can't even eat what you've prepared.
George, I don't know if you know this, but this is actually also a food podcast. Okay? And we're meant to have food. Look, empty plates.
Empty plates. It's like the beginning of Oliver.
Yeah. We got no food. I'm so sorry.
All right, what can we choose?
We haven't even cooked.
No, and the only thing you've got prepped is
This is so annoying.
something sweet. You said, right? You
Yeah.
hinted at.
I'm so sorry. This is so boring. I literally just to catch up. We've been waiting for 40 minutes for this. It's not interesting. We waited 40 minutes. It didn't get delivered, and it said it did. I'm starving. George is starving. We were meant to do this whole sequence where the food would come in the middle of the show. We thought it'd be really fun.
We were going to blow your mind.
It was going to be really fun. I've got a whole dessert, which is now just... you know how late we're running? We're going to play the game still. We haven't even talked about a film. We've just waffled.
Maybe we don't have to talk about the film this week.
It's cool, eh?
Straight into the game. James, fucking order this then. Okay, here's the situation now. We've reordered some food, which will be here in about 45 minutes' time, by which it'll be, very late. The only thing we've got to sustain ourselves is some chocolate buttons and some Smarties.
You know when you're so hungry, when you eat something, you can feel it like falling into your stomach and clattering around. That's how I feel right now. Why are we doing a food podcast as well as film? It's too much.
It's the sweet spot.
I love it. It's a wonderful end to this lovely little podcast where we get together and talk about film and food. But
there's only one
God damn it.
There's only one way we can pass the time until
Can you imagine
the
if
food
you were
arrives.
going out back to where you used to live?
We'd have to have cancelled. We would have to have stopped.
We would. It's 8:20. Which 8:20. No, like you'd have.
I usually would have left by now.
We'd have to call whatever we've just done an episode.
Whatever hot stinking mess.
Okay, so this is the dessert. I was on TikTok and I saw this thing that you can do where you get 2 pieces of very soft white bread, you stick like cubes of chocolate in it, Smarties, you smush them together, use a glass to like fold them, and then you put them in the toaster and then you melt them and the chocolate comes out. That is good.
What an ordeal. Look, it's late.
It's been hours.
It's been hours. I think we've been here 3 days. Let's play a little game.
Yep, let's do it. Take me home.
All right. This game is a bit like your Cameo game from a couple of weeks ago. In that I want to compare and contrast the various ways sequels are made. The good sequels, the bad sequels, how to do it. I'm just going to fire some sequels at you and I want to get your thoughts. Okay?
We created quite a good little, set of guidelines, a ready-to-use pamphlet of ways to do the cameo. So.
I hear it's been circulated around Hollywood as we speak. James and I, this came about because James and I had a conversation recently about Aliens, the sequel to Alien.
Yes.
And which Empire Magazine rates as the #1 greatest sequel of all time.
Oh.
I wouldn't normally go necessarily by what Empire says, but I would have to agree with them. I think it's a very good sequel.
It's an interesting call, yeah.
So I'm going to fire some sequels at you, and I just want to get your opinion of how they work, do they work, what do you think, and if you
Let's open the floor.
So, from Aliens, James Cameron, he's the king of the sequel because, of course, Aliens, fantastic sequel to a previous film. What was his other amazing, fantastic expansion of a sequel onto an original film? Terminator 2, Judgment Day. Thoughts, James?
So, weirdly, Terminator 2 is one of those films I saw really young. I've only actually, as an adult, rewatched Terminator.
Right.
As like, the classic and not bother the other ones. But I don't know Terminator 2 well. I acknowledge it is really good. And I remember it being like fun and as a young kid, which as a young kid I really attached myself to. But like, I don't know that one well at all. I need you to lead the way.
How
on
many
this.
times did you watch it when you were a child?
Once.
Are you joking?
Yeah, I've only seen it once.
Oh my God, that film was on hard rotation when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Sleepovers.
I'd love to rewatch it.
I would just take myself off and watch a couple of scenes, just like the action.
Almost similar to Aliens, it has a different pace and feel to it than Terminator 1 does.
It is such a celebration. It's almost like the blockbuster film at its height, the height of its powers,
expanding on the genre, this time and science
and
going through.
the liquid metal of the T2. He's not the T2. What's he called? The
T100.
No,
T800.
he's T8000. I think the T1000s aren't. Whatever.
God, yeah.
But the liquid metal that still feels really new and it's quite sinister. I rewatched it at Christmas.
And that moment, the twist moment when you realise, in the middle, when the two of them aren't, when the evil one, the actual evil one.
Yeah, because you're led to believe that. Although actually, no, the audience member, that isn't the bad Arnie. But John Connor doesn't know that, so you've got conflicting things. And I had that on a list to rewatch. I'd seen it so much when I was younger. I'd had that on a list to rewatch for ages and ages because I hadn't seen it in years. And last Christmas, bizarrely, was the right time I thought I need to rewatch Terminator 2. And I did. I had an absolute blast.
I saw a great video about Terminator 2 about the guy who plays the evil policeman T unit, the evil.
Oh, yeah. Robert Patrick.
Robert Patrick. And in that film, he does loads of sprinting after cars.
Yeah.
He had to teach himself how to run without opening his mouth, just breathing through his nose. He's full on sprinting, which is really hard to do. And you had to do all these vocal things because, a robot wouldn't be panting out of breath. It wouldn't be anaerobically respiring. So you had to learn to sprint for hundreds of meters at a time.
He really does run in there. He's very thin.
He does this
he's very fit.
He's just sprinting, not breathing through his mouth.
Oh my goodness.
Crazy.
And that's what I love actually. I just like the fact that he is disguised as a cop. That's the fun thing.
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger looks like the old Terminator, the bad one from the previous one.
Which looks like a sort of rough guy that you would want to stop on the street, but a policeman, a cop.
Yeah. Say, that's a nice bike. He's just in it like Robert Patrick is. And there's that fantastic chase sequence down the aqueduct. You got to go and watch that, James.
Yeah,
Great sequel. Right, moving on.
The bike coming out from the fire explosion.
Okay. Lots of the place that's given us a lot of sequels, Pixar. Okay. Pixar had that first decade of amazing runs, right?
Yes.
And then they did a lot of things. Now, Finding Dory.
I think really disappointing. It was one of those sequels that we waited a long time for. Finding Nemo came out in what, 2004, 2003?
2003, I believe.
2003. And then we got Finding Dory in... come on, George.
Come
on.
2016.
Jesus,
2016, sorry.
Yeah, and I think, it's not that I think that people are waiting every night when's Finding Nemo 2 going to come out, which is what we would have called it. But I just didn't find that it had the emotional hit on me at all.
I think it's because no one really ever imagined that would be the story.
No,
I don't think
no
anyone
one
finished
thought it would
Finding
be.
Nemo thinking, well, I wonder what they're going to do with that.
It's not that I thought that Nemo had to get lost again, but I just don't really think I needed to... Dory was a great side character.
Yeah.
I didn't need to know why... that's the thing, I can't even remember it that well because it's quite forgettable, but I don't remember it being as funny as Finding Nemo. Finding Nemo was so
I really
funny.
have Finding Nemo...
so quotable as well.
Yeah, impressed on my brain, the beats of that film. I remember seeing that in the cinema and the shark, Bruce.
Yeah. Hello, Bruce.
yeah. How about
and the whole idea, of doing a load of fish inside a dentist's office.
Yeah.
Such a clever idea to capture that, and one of them's really deep, voiced by Willem Dafoe.
and also, I've
who
thinks who would have thought that one of the most quotable lines in that film is that mine.
Still
mine,
to this day,
mine, the
with
seagulls.
Yeah. And I remember at school in assembly, you could start the whole school going. One person could just go mine, mine, and then you have 1,000 people all in the hall. Teachers were going mental.
Yeah.
It was great. It was pure revolution.
Yeah. All right. But
yeah, I'll just end up talking about how good Finding Nemo was.
Yeah, we just
Finding Dory,
exactly.
Very forgettable. If I would say what you don't do is, I just don't think you should focus on characters that are quite good as secondary characters. We didn't expect that would be
needs to be happen.
Very true.
Okay, similarly, I never saw it, but Monsters University.
Yeah, so forgettable.
A prequel.
Monsters, Inc. is one of the most ingenious ideas, and I think loads of scientists have come out and have said that is the most accurate representation of multiple universes and wormholes working in a 3D space. They're this is actually fairly conceivable with physics as to how something like that could work, which is really cool. Like if it was a series of doors to loads of bedrooms, that you could conceivably have wormholes to universes presented in such a way, which is clear. And I thought you should have just, because there was all like the bureaucracy between like getting scares for power and energy and what it meant, but you could have done so much more with that, again, with a sequel and not a prequel. I never really wanted to see where Mike and Sully became friends. I wanted to know what else could happen in that universe. I'd love to take that same ingenuity and do more,
and also just apply what that ingenuity and just make it into a frat house comedy set at university. I never wanted to know how they met each other, what education they had.
Again, we waited a really long time for it. That came out 2015 university,
2013 university, and 2001 was Monsters Inc. So 12 years. I mean, imagine seeing the age difference. When I saw Monsters Inc., I would have been 7, 8. And then when Monsters University came out, I was 19.
That is weird, isn't it? Like Incredibles is another one, wasn't it?
Well, the one that's also very debatable, did we need Toy Story 4?
No. Toy Story 3 was the perfect bow on that
enjoyed Toy Story 4.
Yeah, I did. I thought it was solid.
But it didn't need to exist, did it? It was a victory lap.
Yeah, it was such a victory lap, such an unneeded epilogue onto an already really great story. They did the long wait from 2 to 3. And they played on the fact that everyone watching that film had grown up and forgotten about all of their toys. It was genius. And the moment when all the toys are holding hands in the furnace, it just completely broke me down. And then them realizing that they get the chance to play again, just completely melts your heart. And yeah, it was the stakes of the story didn't matter to me. I hated Sporky as a central pull for the whole character. I didn't find him funny. I was like, I don't really want to be. They kept like the story. I realized the story was really going on him. And I was like, I don't want to follow you.
I know. I want to follow all my mates.
All my mates. You've just taken me on such a huge ride about like all those characters and what they meant.
And actually, when I think about the very, very end of Toy Story 4, can I reveal it for everyone?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm going to talk about
spoilers
the end of
for Toy Story 4.
It's been out over 2 years. I think if you wanted to see, you would have seen it. Is that basically Woody stays behind and with some new friends he's made, and everyone else goes on. And I'm saying that out loud now. I'm thinking about it. I don't like that ending. I want to remember them how I remember them in Toy Story 3, which is that like in this sort of almost heaven-like situation. They've moved on to this afterlife.
I assume that forever in time they would be passed on to a child who wanted to play for them.
Exactly. And there is that kind of thing in Toy Story 3 where it's like they might have died at the furnace, and the whole thing with Bonnie is like the afterlife, and they've just found their salvation. Yeah.
Again, very cool idea about the children's play center being like, because we've all seen
like
those buckets of toys where the doll's got eyes missing and it's dipped in glitter and glue. And it kind of reminded me of Sausage Party a bit.
Oh,
like
God,
that idea of like actually what happens here is not so good, but. Yeah, that was funny in Toy Story 3.
Another genre of sequel now. The belated comedy sequel. Okay?
Yeah.
Do you remember, I sometimes can't believe that this existed because I completely forgot about it. Zoolander 2.
Yeah, Zoolander 2.
They made that.
And again, I couldn't tell you what it was about.
I mean, I
Zoolander 1.
I haven't actually seen Zoolander 1. I saw it once at a sleepover in 2008, which I don't think really counts.
2008, that's... late for Zoolander sleepover.
Okay. Late for a sleepover, you were saying. Get your real friends, George.
Yeah, you should have been watching, I don't know what, something else.
No, it was just like everyone's like, oh yeah, Zoolander's great. I've never seen it.
You should have been watching Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
No, that I have seen.
Came out in 2008.
Yeah, which did come out in 2008, yeah. So Zoolander 2, though, I mean, that and that's just not even, you don't hear anyone mention.
It's not quoted, it's not, that's
Slipped
so true.
Off the face
Zoolander 1, I'd actually love to see it again. It's so, again, like quotable to the ends of the earth. I assume Anchorman 2 is coming up.
Well, my next one was going to be Anchorman 2 because I actually have a real soft spot for Anchorman 2.
I abuse you?
I defend Anchorman 2.
Touch my leg. Now tell me that doesn't feel like a cock.
This is what I mean. Anchorman 2 shouldn't work, and it doesn't really work. But I've seen that probably about 3-4 times.
And how come that? I can't believe that didn't come up in my cameo chat. The Anchorman.
Oh, is it?
It's like all the cameos. Yeah.
But the it is so. I mean, and it's so messy, that film.
I'm actually just thinking about it.
There are so many just funny lines. I saw it with a friend at the cinema, and we were like the only two people laughing.
Oh, yeah, it's
and
such
there's just so many random things, and Will Ferrell doing that shtick is funny.
You know what I need to do? Watch it again because there'll be so many things I've missed.
Yeah, there's a bit where he's talking to Greg Kinnear, who's like the stepfather to his son, and Greg Kinnear's being really nice, and Will Ferrell just goes, "I'm about this close to shooting a flare gun at your dick."
There's so many times where I go, I am blind, do not see. And he does this. He does the blind like vacant stare so well. He's like, can you not see that I do not know?
The outtakes, the thing you said
I
with
was
the
referring
do
to
I
the
mean, it's
outtakes. They're
wonderful.
iconic. Those like are now some of the most famous comedy actors in the world
Yeah.
trying to get through that scene where Will Ferrell is clearly just freestyling, being blind.
Sometimes I will quote Adam McKay off screen in the bloopers where he's just riffing and he gets out like Will Ferrell's going through this thing and he does like basically just an impression of a Chinese guy and there's just this silence on the set and then you just hear Adam McKay go, "Good Lord."
Yeah,
And sometimes I say that I just go, "Good Lord."
when he's doing the vocal warm up, he's like, "Get the children, get the kids." The human
it's
torch
been
was denied a bank.
And when Harrison Ford's like, "It's been 8 years." He's fantastic. Harrison Ford is brilliant
Yeah.
at timing. And this
he's so
doesn't
good.
this doesn't even make it in the film, but he says like, "It's been 8 years since I jumped out from behind that curtain and scared a window washer, so he fell to his death." The state of him. And then Will Ferrell is just at the edge of the camera frame, and he's just like brimming with laughter, like streaming tears.
Now I know what it was like for the poor villagers in Pompeii. Talk about rivers frothy.
Very good. Check it out. I will defend
Yeah.
Anchorman 2. That's the one film I say people have...
It's winning the award so far of best sequel, best belated sequel.
best belated sequel that shouldn't work, but actually does.
But I'd put that and Zoolander in a similar category. So if Anchorman can do it, Zoolander could have.
And it didn't.
Oh God, I don't remember nothing about that.
Exactly. Okay. Belated cult sequels now. T2 Trainspotting.
Oh, I really liked T2
Did you?
Trainspotting.
Yeah.
I did really like it. I remember us talking about it like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Again, what I think T2 did well is it enjoyed the fact that it had taken 20 years
Oh, yeah.
from when it first had... When the first film came out, there's an enormous amount of pressure for that film to do well. You're touching a film which is, as you say, like a cult film that's incredibly beloved.
Fantastic film.
But I thought what made that work was the fact that, as I just said, it played on the fact it was older. Edinburgh had completely changed. The world had completely changed, and therefore it made sense for a lot of the characters to have completely changed. Like there's one of my favorite scenes where I think defines what T2 is he comes into Edinburgh and he's like, someone's like, "Welcome to Edinburgh," and he's like, "What the fuck is going on?" But like Edinburgh has been gentrified and culture has completely changed from the 90s, and it would have been wrong to try and recreate what Trainspotting was and putting it back in that time frame. And I thought it was funny in the ways that Trainspotting was. There was stakes in a sense of like I sort of still cared about these characters and wanted to like see where they ended up, and it worked. And the way they played on nostalgia used that amazing Born Slippy tune echoing throughout a hum. And I think you know, whether or not that's the track for you, but there are so many songs that you could just hear, and the way they use that to take you back to a time where maybe you saw the first Trainspotting, I thought worked really well.
Yeah, I think the way that film shoots memory and captures like being middle-aged, and not that I can speak to that, but nostalgia. The way that film captures nostalgia is a really interesting exercise. I have to say, probably the first 2/3 of that film I find the most interesting, and how it like explores that and engages with that. I do think for me that like there were a couple of scenes, and progressively more towards the end, just increasing generic territory. It kind of becomes a bit like the dad joke to the really cool hip,
there is that
band version. And also the weird thing.
But then what if it had tried to be too cool though? Would that have been wrong?
No, I know it had to go somewhere, but well, look,
I see what you mean though.
the thing is about Trainspotting 2 as well that I find quite odd is that when you watch Trainspotting 1, it isn't really about the four of them. It is just about Renton. You do not spend a lot of time with Begbie and Sick Boy and Spud. Spud's probably in it the most out of the second most out of the
They kind
four of them.
of represent an idea of a generation though, don't they?
But sure. But like when you come into T2, like they really lean heavily on Sick Boy and all of them. And I'm like, actually, this film keeps telling me that I know these people, or I knew these people well 22 years ago. But actually, I don't know you guys that well. Begbie really just comes into the Trainspotting 1 like 4 times to be the crazy psycho guy.
Yeah.
So I liked it. I mean, you know, I think it's an interesting exercise. I recently showed someone Trainspotting, and they were like, "That's great," and they were like, Trainspotting 1. They're like, "Oh, should I watch the sequel?" And I was like, "I don't think you need
in
to."
20 years.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe that's it. Maybe watch it when you get to middle age.
And I think it would not have the same effect if you watch them one after the other.
Yeah, I don't think
you
so.
should really
They need
sit
to
with it.
exist in the time. Exist in
culture.
time. Oh,
That's an interesting one. Like, what films need to have existed in time to be appreciated?
well, I mean,
It's a whole other day.
that's a whole other debate.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. Other cult sequels.
Are these all like belated? No, not all of them.
Some of them
A
are
lot of
belated.
them are. We're discussing the
Well,
gap.
some of the most
Yeah.
interesting sequels are belated because
Yeah,
otherwise,
sure.
the things that the sequels that come 2 years after have been pre-planned, unless it's like Dune, as we talked about last
Yeah.
week. But Blade Runner 2049.
Oh, yeah, as I said last week when I was talking about June, really enjoyed Blade Runner 2049. In the same way that a lot of these sequels could have really botched it. I echo my sentiment of T2. Blade Runner 2049 really felt like Blade Runner. From the moment it started, I had this little sigh of relief, and I went, oh yes, it is. They are doing Blade Runner. It didn't feel like they were copying and like really just trying to imitate what Blade Runner was and what it meant. It immediately felt present in that universe. As I said last week, like a real masterpiece of show, don't tell. Let your audience figure that out. Acting performance is really good. It's probably one of the best looking films I've seen set in this century. I genuinely adored the look of that film. I wish I'd seen it in IMAX, but didn't at the time.
Yeah, I agree. I've been dying to revisit it.
I would 100% go and see if it ever got re-released in IMAX.
Let's keep that on. Maybe one for another future
Yeah, I would
show.
love to. And yeah, just the fact that what actual events or whatever alterations incur towards the last act aren't the most important part of that movie. The most important thing that you take away are the questions you ask yourself when your credits are rolling and all the ideas that start running into your head. And it's what I think Nolan's films do best, is when you're asking questions about what happened in that movie afterwards. And that's why I really like Blade Runner 2049.
Oh, well, expertly summed up there, like a GCSE question, rabbit. Yeah. And that is why I really like this. Can I say?
Debate and discuss.
I liked Blade Runner 2049. I think the only thing I have to say about it is that, last week with Dune, I talked about how it was that oppressive
Heavy
tonality that I found a little bit. I definitely had that with Blade Runner 2049, and I think when I think about it compared to the first one, is that the original Blade Runner, for all of its rain and darkness and heaviness. Sorry, it wasn't heavy. For all of its rain and urbanity and stuff, it did genuinely feel like there was something light about it. So it felt like a ballet. It felt like a dance. There's something with that Vangelis score. It just felt there's something very when that saxophone comes in, light and wistful about it. Whereas I felt very heavy under Blade Runner 2049. I felt like the bows and the movement of this like machinery.
I think it's literally feeling the weight of the first film on top of it.
Yeah, it could literally be. It could literally be.
Please take me seriously. Please think I'm artistic.
But there's something magical and mystical about Blade Runner, the original, and then Blade Runner 2049. I don't know. That's not necessarily
It's
a bad
not
thing.
one. It's not one I jump on the sofa and go, let's rewatch. But it like it's heavy to watch. It hangs heavy in my soul.
Oh, I like it. Okay, last of all,
Yep.
one to finish. An entire franchise made up of sequels.
Yes.
Mission Impossible.
Oh my God. Yeah. Where do you want to start?
Well,
Two I know the least.
Well, two's an interesting one. You have to go through because they're all
So
each sequel is different, and a bit like the Fast and Furious franchise. It wasn't until like film 4 that they like reboot
We're
it
now going,
and commit to a certain vision. So the original Mission Impossible in 1996, I think, or 1995. Brian De Palma, we all know it. The hanging in the room kind of stuff.
Iconic espionage.
But actually quite talky, quite minimal, quite stripped back.
Could another universe could very easily have existed as this standalone Tom Cruise movie. But do you remember Mission Impossible? It could never have had the sequels and success, and you would have gone,
it's
random
almost
90s film.
I think by today's standards, it's very televisual. It's like that's like a pilot for a film in terms of the scale of it. Mission Impossible 2 is like crazy. It goes the other way. It's
Who directed that?
Mission Impossible 2?
Yeah.
John Woo, I want to say.
Yeah, John Woo.
With the flying doves and there's lots of slow motion on the bike and the dual wielding.
I know that iconic opening where he's hanging
on
off
the
the
rock,
cliffs because he really is hanging. And I know all about the masks, and I've seen it so many years ago. But I kind of would want to watch it purely for the sake of being able to reference it in pop culture,
Yeah.
but I don't really know how much enjoyment I'd get out of it by rewatching it today.
I think
remember all the masks.
I
coming
think
on
most
and
people
off.
look back at Mission Impossible 2 and think actually that was the one that was the most like out of the whole series. It's the off-brand one.
Yeah.
Doesn't actually quite work because then you get Mission Impossible 3, which it's probably one of my personal
People
favorites.
don't like it.
You're joking.
I speak to so many people like, oh, 3. And I'm like, have you seen the opening scene of Mission Impossible 3?
Philip Seymour
with the
Hoffman,
excellent female
dearly
Philip Seymour
departed.
Hoffman. The countdown. Just
Yeah.
like you start with, there's an electrical charge in your head. Opening line. And then, you know what's brilliant about that scene? I could talk about the opening. Okay, if you haven't seen Mission Impossible 3, the opening of that scene, it's set in media res. You're clearly in the middle of the story, and it's just before the title sequence when and it's this sequence where Tom Cruise is sitting opposite his wife, who is tied up and gagged, and the villain Philip Seymour Hoffman is asking him where the MacGuffin is. Where's the rabbit's foot?
Where's the rabbit's foot?
And he says, "I'm going to count to 10," and he's holding a gun to his wife's head, and he goes 1, 2, and he keeps escalating it. And every single second that Philip Seymour Hoffman says to Tom Cruise, he tries a different tack. The first is like he's confused. 1, 2. Next time he's like, okay, just everyone relax. We can figure this out. 3, he's like, okay, I'm gonna help you. He's like, it's not there. You're not gonna help me. 4, and there's one moment where he goes 7. He's like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. And then he shoots his wife in the knee. And Philip Seymour Hoffman's like, do you think I'm playing?
Yeah.
Do you think I'm playing? And Tom Cruise is like, you son of a bitch, god damn it. And he's like, where is it? 7. And he's like, 8. And he's like, I swear to God, you son of a bitch. It's like 9. And then boom. 10. Mission Impossible. Opening sequence. You just seen his wife get shot. And now you watch the whole first half of the movie with him and his wife, knowing what you know. And I think in 2 minutes that scene lasts, your heart is at 150 BPM. And I thought it was fantastic. And I was in from that moment.
I agree with you. I saw that at the cinema when I was 13, had a blast. I don't think, this is why I think people are unfair. I don't think you would have been able to achieve. It set the tone for the Mission Impossible films we've had after that.
They feel more like a cohesive thing.
It was much more like a reset. It was like, okay, this is actually going to be set in the real world. This is like, okay.
Directed by JJ
Abrams. And I loved it. And you got, Billy Crudup turns up in it. And Philip Seymour Hoffman is like, he's not your typical Mission Impossible villain.
No,
he's
has
schlubby,
like a comedy.
he's
Do you remember the bit in
hulking.
the bathroom when it's Tom Cruise as Philip Seymour Hoffman and he's coughing and he's like, because he's waiting for the voice box to work.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And he's like, go. And he's like, go, get out.
And that's
But still, you say that like not an obvious villain choice, but so menacing, quiet and steady. God, I'm gonna rewatch Mission Impossible. That's gonna be a Christmas one for me.
And then it's Mission Impossible 4, which
Yeah.
is like, okay, now we're we have a clear vision. This is the Christopher McQuarrie directed one, I think.
With first introduction of Jeremy Renner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because there was talk, like, is he going to replace Tom Cruise?
Yeah. Oh, he was gonna replace Jason Bourne. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah, of course. Bourne Legacy.
Four I think is good. I
Ghost
I
Protocol,
liked 4. It was a really good TV film. Oh, it's on the TV. Yeah, I could do
Plane
a Mission
movie.
Impossible. It's a great plane movie.
I think that is where I think I saw that on a plane or a bus.
What kind of fancy bus? Oh, you just watched it.
In South America, actually.
Oh, right, yeah. Oh, like on the bus drop down screen.
Yeah.
Like on the school trip
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
Wow, yeah, that's a whole nother cinematic experience for you to discuss.
People, no one asks this anymore, but if people ask me, have I seen the film Ted? I have, but in complete Spanish. I just watched it and I got it. And it was just all in Spanish.
Right, yeah. You got every single comedy beat. Do you remember when planes used to not have individual TVs and a little CRT used to, from row one would just drop
Dark
down.
Ages.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's film will be
Yeah.
How
to Lose a Guy's in 10 Days.
How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Oh, it's The Sound of Music.
And that was on. If you were
Yeah.
within 10 rows, maybe you could
Yeah.
see it. If you were in row 18, good luck.
You needed to have those little binoculars that you give you at the theatre. You
Yeah.
put the coins in. And,
Yeah. You're just squinting at this little centimetre pixel away from you.
Okay, then they upped the ante again with Rogue Nation, Mission
Rogue
Impossible
Nation.
5, which they brought back Jeremy Renner. Hey,
Yeah.
okay.
Introducing Alec Baldwin, I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
I loved, like a bit of Alec Baldwin. Also, that's when they really started to establish that these films were actually all existed in the same world, because there's a reference to the first film in Mission Impossible 5, and it begins with them referencing what happened at the end of Mission Impossible 4.
Also, as much as I thought it was solid, I didn't love it. I don't think it's that memorable, but I did get tired of the idea that the IMF has gone rogue and Ethan Hunt is
Happens
no
all the
longer
time,
got the
yeah.
support. I'm like, okay,
Blah,
this,
blah, 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 blah,
I get
blah,
it.
blah, blah.
He's not. Yeah.
But great motorbike chase in it.
Yes.
Really good.
He
Then-
holds his breath for like 8 minutes in that movie, underwater, Tom Cruise.
Yeah,
Like,
I believe he did it. Yeah.
you know what I do for pretty much most scenes that involve underwater? I hold my breath and see if I can hold my breath for as long as the character's underwater.
Okay.
And that includes cutting between other scenes that are
Okay.
happening. So if he goes under, I go,
Okay.
and I'll see if I can do it. I never can.
Good on you. How immersive is that? Good on you.
This is not first time watching. This is second time.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
I'm not in the cinema. I'm going,
James passed out about halfway through.
Yeah,
we have to get some
you
lifeguards
just
in the
catch me on
cinema.
Blue in the face.
Okay, and then they upped the ante and went for Mission Impossible Fallout, which really, that was when the Mission Impossible had like a statement of intent. It was
Henry Cavill cocking his
yep,
shotgun arms,
reloading his arms. Yep.
moustache that caused the famous Justice League.
Yep.
botched,
Mishap.
mishap.
Alec Baldwin's in it. Angela Bassett. They bring back the same villain again.
And they bring back his wife from 3.
Yeah.
Who's actually was in a scene in 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Or one of
She's
them.
so she's like the main
Michelle
plot in
Monaghan.
3. I have a story about her.
Okay.
Which I guess I'll have to tell now because I've brought it
Yeah.
up. Why? No, it's just that Michelle Monaghan, lovely actress, good actress. I was on a flight to New York 5 years ago, and I watched Kiss Kiss Bang Bang with.
Oh,
Have you seen that with Robert Downey Jr. and Val Kilmer?
I know
and
the
she's
film.
in it, and actually so much more fun than I remembered. It was really good fun, and
Oh.
she's in it. A lot.
Shane Black.
That's it.
Yeah.
She's in it, and anyway, 3 days later, I'm sat in Central Park, and I'm by the the sailboat pond, and I've got my legs out. I'm 6'4", so my legs are
Yeah.
stretched. Anyway, this toddler on this little tiny scooter just comes and runs. Could drive straight into my legs. Not painful. I wasn't.
It's a rom-com.
I was like, I'm getting litigious. I
Like,
will,
I'm
I will
walking
sue.
here,
No, but and immediately this child's mother comes along and goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry about that." And it's Michelle
And it was
Monaghan.
Michelle
It was
got
Michelle
it?
Monaghan.
Wow,
And she's like, "I'm
that's
so
weird.
sorry," and I was like, "That's not a problem." I was just so British. I was like, "That is not a problem at all."
Did
Don't
you
worry
show
about it."
any face that you knew? Or were you
No, of course
perfectly
not.
well-behaved?
She's
Yeah.
in the park with her child.
No.
walking
I'm
around.
not saying did you say anything, but did you give an impression like you knew who she was?
No, I just.
Did she know that you
no,
know?
I didn't want to let that on either because then she might get self-conscious. I was just like,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
it's like, oh, okay, no problem at all. But I was like, I knew who she was, and
It's creepy when you've been watching someone and then you see them in real life, and it's very like, oh,
Ooh,
you're
yeah,
on
that
the
sentence
thing.
does sound creepy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's the Mission Impossible sequels, and then we've got 7 and 8 filmed back to back coming up.
Oh, have they done
with
7 and 8?
yeah, well,
Wow.
I think that was the plan maybe before COVID, but Haley Atwell and
Sure.
Bond and
Yeah,
Teeth.
I don't really have a problem with them coming out if they're high quality. I think they've in Craig's era of Bond, which I enjoy for the good ones. They've taken the place of that. They as if Pierce Brosnan kept going a
Right.
little bit. They've kept the silliness and the
Yeah.
scale and let Daniel Craig do the serious.
I feel like the Mission Impossible films are the thinking man's Fast and Furious films.
Sure.
But also by this point, Mission Impossible said, this is the kind of film we're going to do.
Yeah.
We're going to really commit to the stunts. Tom's going to go crazy on
He's
it.
going
We're
to
gonna-
hang on to the end of a
Yeah,
plane. And
we'll
like,
keep upping it. And you know what? I almost find it like quite honest filmmaking. They're like, this is what we're giving you. Tom Cruise is going to hang on to the side of the thing.
Yeah.
Are you going to be there for that? And you turn up and they do deliver. You can't argue that they
I
don't.
thought the Dubai hanging off the side of a building off the Burj Khalifa was brilliant.
Yeah.
And the fact that you knew it was not, he was actually hanging there was just nuts.
The only thing that winded me up about was when they really
Wound you up?
forced. Yeah, the only thing that wound me up about the Mission Impossible Fallout was that they really forced the world building, and there was a bit. Vanessa Kirby's in Mission Impossible,
yeah.
and she's just in it, and she's just a character. Okay, this sort of arms dealer, and then like in the press tour, like 2 weeks later after the film came out, she was like, "Yeah, I'm actually the granddaughter. My character's actually the granddaughter of Vanessa Redgrave's character in the first Mission Impossible, who's the arms dealer."
Yeah,
And I'm like,
I remember.
no, because there's absolutely no mention of that in the film. There's no hint of that in the film. It's just you
Right.
can't tack that on afterwards to get people to watch it as a bit of intrigue.
Maxine or
Yeah,
something,
yeah, she plays the arms dealer Max.
God, that is a very wordy sequence in the first film.
Yeah,
sorry,
and also like what a completely bolted on, hammered in throwback.
Right.
Like, yeah, but I was just like, no, you can't do that.
really cool helicopter sequence in Fallout when he's like
Oh.
shimming them, trying to get an angle. And
Yeah.
and Henry Cavill's doing the Henry Cavill
And just
thing.
a great bathroom fight scene.
Yeah, I love a
You really
bathroom
hear those
fight scene.
punches.
More bathroom fight scenes.
Anyway, so
Any
those are
more?
the sequels.
Oh, that's it,
That's
yeah.
it for now, and I'm sure we'll play this game again. But so James, in short,
Wow.
what if you're talking to a director who's making a sequel to a
Yeah.
very famous film, either straight after it or 20 years later? What are your tips?
My main thing is if you're going to do this, 10 plus years later, really think, A, does the audience still want this, and is it going to ruin do the characters make sense to do this? And B, should you maybe consider using the time frame that's elapsed as a tool for making your sequel more effective in the way that I don't think Incredibles 2 or Monsters University or Toy Story 4 did, but the way films like T2, Trainspotting, and I don't know what else it was that we said that worked well.
Blade Runner 2049.
Blade Runner 2049. And if you're really lucky, you can do an Anchorman and just pick up where you left off and get it right.
And
But, yeah.
just Okay, thanks very much. I guess we'll have to see when it gets to Matrix 4.
Oh, yeah.
Till next time.